Hello, fellow book lovers. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. We are going to be doing something extremely exciting, which I feel like I say this every time, but truly this is very exciting because I hardly know what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be playing a game where I have to guess the book from the book review. So I had my boyfriend put together a little quiz sort of situation for me, and he made a very elaborate PowerPoint and all that, so that is what I'm going to be screen recording and showing you in a sec. Basically, I'm going to be going through 10 book reviews from Goodreads. I think it will show the star rating as well as the text, but it will have blacked out like character names, location names, author name, whatever. And I am going to be guessing what book this book review was written about. So I am actually so excited. I'm very curious if I'm going to be getting anything at all. I'm scared, like, what if I'm going to get them all wrong? My boyfriend did specify that I was not allowed to be mad if it's too difficult, so I cannot get mad. But I really do hope I get at least one correct. We'll see. Maybe I get them all correct. Probably not. Okay. One thing I will say before we get into the fun part is that I did ask him to include only books that I read either this year or last year, so I know what I'm going to be working with a little bit, because I feel like if he includes a book on my shelf that maybe I read when I was like 14, that's going to be a bit too difficult, and I had to narrow it down a little bit. By the way, I guess you can play along with me, so if you want to go do that, that would be super fun. Please join me in this. Obviously, it'll be a little bit different because I don't know if you have read the book that the book review is about, but who knows, you might have. I did read quite a bit of popular like book talk books in the past 2 years, so chances are that you have heard of this book. So come play along with me, I guess. Little side note, I'm filming this after I did some of the reviews, so I'm inserting it in here because I realized that if you're gonna play along, it would be a good idea to pause the video immediately when the book review appears on screen, because sometimes I do say my guess before I get to the end of the book review. So I will read every book review to you, but then sometimes I make comments along the way, and I might, let's say, after 3 sentences say something like, oh, I think it's this book. So if you do want to play along, keep that in mind and maybe pause it before I start reading the review. Please do keep in mind that this video can include spoilers for books that you might not have read. And I wish I would be able to tell you which books I'm going to be putting spoilers in for, but I really can't. And I can obviously insert some kind of video after I've seen what the books are, but I feel like that ruins the game. So I was going a bit back and forth whether or not to say that, but I feel like I want to have you be able to play the game with me. So just keep in mind, this can include spoilers for books that you maybe haven't read yet. I'm gonna go press space on the PowerPoint, and we're gonna see what my boyfriend put together for me. Alina's booktube book review book quiz. That's cute. Okay. The challenge. Try and guess the book from the Goodreads review. I have blanked out the names of characters, the author, and the book itself. 1 point if you guess it right. Half a point if you guess a book in the correct series. Yeah, he discussed this with me. So basically, if I get the right book series but not the right book in the series, I'll get half a point. 10 questions ahead. Best of luck. I think if I press space now, we'll probably go to question number 1. Let's see. Review number 1. It's a 4-star review, and I will just read it, I guess. Okay, now, I literally don't care for the main characters, but these side characters, why would I risk everything for them? Complex, morally grey characters are my favorite to read about anyway. I barely remember what happened in this book, besides that there's some war they're fighting, but sex in the war camps is considered sexy. Excuse me while I swallow my vomit. If I could sum up this entire series in one sentence, it would be a girl does something with a bat. Yeah, I think this can really only be one thing. Because who else would you describe as a bat? He's not a bat. Let's be very clear about this. He's not a bat. But I think Rhysand can really be the only character in books that I've read that anyone would describe as a bat. And everything else fits as well. So it's definitely the ACOTAR series. And I think because they do reference war and war camps, it has to be A Court of Wings and Ruin. My guess is A Court of Wings and Ruin. Let's see if it's correct. I think if I press space, it's going to tell me. Yay! I got a point! I'm so excited. Okay, that's so cool. I got a point. Let's go on to question number 2. Oh, this is long. Okay. 5 stars. Book quote that gives it away. I could start this review by saying I'm always okay, but since I'm not, name, all I can say is I'm physically in pain. I was sobbing like crazy. Okay, this is interesting already. I'm always okay, but since I'm not... Okay, so I guess one of the main characters is always saying, oh yeah, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. That's what I'm getting from this. And it's probably a sad book. At the beginning, I was feeling really confident because I knew it was about name, and I thought, he's so funny. What could potentially go wrong? I have an idea already. I think this could be Taming 7 because that's a sad book. And I knew it was about name. Sounds like it's going to be not the first book in a series, but like a character that you've already read something about, and then this is like his book or her book. And he's so funny. That's definitely fits him. Okay, I'm quite certain actually already, but I'm going to read on, obviously. Is author ever going easy on us? Yeah, still fits. My poor baby name. I refuse to believe that the boy who helped me get through every single book of the series since day 1 by making me laugh is the one fighting the most demons. Why do bad things happen to good people? Like, why? It still fits. Name. What a super angel you are. Yeah, that could be Claire, I guess. I got super emotional every single time she stood up for name, and how she was super patient and super caring with him. These two were literally the absolute cutest. Still fits, but I disagree. They made me love the married couple with kids energy. Absolutely certain now, without being married or having kids. Kittens are cuter anyway, fight me on that one. That's an opinion you can have. Okay, or being a couple at all. I don't know if I should say this. Okay, hear me out. I'm not a name hater. That's probably Lizzie. But the more I read, the more Lizzie, I guess, was getting on my nerves. Anyway, who will refund all the money I've spent on tissues after X books of pure crying and agonizing, not to mention the therapy sessions? I am absolutely certain this is Taming 7. And it's funny because they are referencing the exact thing I did not like about Taming 7, which is the whole kitten parent thing. I thought that was actually super cringe and super annoying, even though I didn't hate the book and I didn't hate their couple. I think they fit well as a couple, but they are actually my least favorite couple in the series. I'm certain. Oh yeah, okay. I was so confused looking for the title. It's literally right there. It's just at a different spot in the screen. Taming 7, okay. I want to see if I got all the names correct. Yeah, I knew it was about Gypsy. Boy, was I wrong. Chloe Walsh, yeah. My poor baby Gypsy. Claire Bear. Why is she calling her Claire Bear in the review? That was also something I thought was cringe. Yeah, okay, and Lizzie was at that spot in the text. Yeah, I thought that would be Lizzie. Moving on. I've got 2 points. I feel like I'm on a roll. 1-star review. Okay. I don't understand the rave reviews, but so be it. For me, this was boring, as in put the book down and want to scream boring, as in grit my teeth because it's still not finished boring. There was no edge, no humor, no slant. Harsh. None of the characters. I really hope this is not a book I loved. None of the characters were developed into believable living people. The daughters were distinguishable only by their chosen vocations. I don't know what that word means. I feel like that could be a great hint to what this book is. But daughters is interesting, because now I'm thinking it's like maybe Tom Lake or something like that. The main character is someone I would feign illness to avoid at an office party for lack of personality. What is name like? I have not the faintest clue. And name? Just his vices and his teeth. And our name? What the F? Please. I know nothing about these characters after slogging through the book for hundreds of pages. That sounds like maybe it might be a long book. The novel consists of the main character relaying, okay, it is Tom Lake, a brief acting career and romance from her pre-married life to her daughters who are riveted for reasons I don't understand. Who are these docile creatures? Why are they so lacking in fight, independence, mischief, and rebellion at their age? Instead, they wait with bated breath, day after day, for the least interesting pre-married life romance I've ever heard. The storytelling within the novel is interrupted periodically by cherry picking, and yes, I felt like I was there in the orchard plotlessly looking at cherries. I assumed something interesting would be revealed from her past life. Boy, was I disappointed. Well, now I am going to be mad at my boyfriend because this is my second favorite book of the year so far. And he put this 1-star review in, very well knowing that. But actually, this is going to be strange to say, but I kind of understand what this review is saying. I loved it, but I do understand that it's not for everyone, and I can see why people can find this book boring, even though I personally really loved it, because I loved it for being bland. Does that make sense? I loved it in a way that you can love meditating. I loved it in a way that you can love watching a field of birds doing nothing. Like, I loved it not for its insane plot or something like that. I loved it because it conveyed the atmosphere of calmness well. I hope this is making some kind of sense. But either way, my guess is Tom Lake. I'm doing well so far. I've got 3 points out of 3. Let's go. On to number question. Question number. On to, on to question number 4. 2 stars. DNF at 35%. Okay, that's interesting. So this review is only talking about the first 35% then. It gets to a point when the book is moving so slow, it's almost painful. I've heard really great things about this book. The ratings are good and countless people have recommended it. I'm up for trying it again, maybe some other time, but I feel like I've been reading all day and getting nowhere. I don't mind a slower paced book, but it's gotten redundant and I cannot stay engaged. I'm a Christian and I'm not against reading about religious trauma. Okay, interesting. But I felt kind of bored by it. Not a fan of the cover either. The family dynamics were very real and raw, which I liked. But the romance was pretty bland, and I can't say that all the psych references were for me. It's funny because so many people just love this book, and I know some of y'all will not understand me disliking it. That's how I feel when someone dislikes Boys of Tommen, so I get it. Anyways, I may resume some other time, but DNF for now. Okay. This is fun because this is the first one I feel like where I don't instantly think of a title. When it said slow paced, I thought of Normal People. And there is romance in that, and I can actually understand why you would say the romance is bland. But I don't know if that talks about religious trauma. I don't think so. But what book does? I'm struggling. I am struggling. Okay, what do we know? It is slower paced, at least this person seems to think so. It is highly rated / popular. It talks about religious trauma and family dynamics, which I feel that is the thing that probably gives most information as to which book this is. But I can't think for now about any book that I read with religious trauma. And then it has romance in it and psych references, which do they mean like to this referencing a psychiatrist or psychological? Oh, oh, I think I know. I think it's the conditions of will. As I was saying it out loud, I wanted to say like psychological conditions. Is that the word? I don't know, like things like depression or like eating disorders. But then I couldn't think of the word, so I wanted to say psychology first. And then I thought, psychology references. It's the conditions of will. Is that slow paced? I do think it talks about religious trauma, definitely family dynamics. I feel like it is the psychology references, they definitely make me feel that this has got to be the conditions of will. Yay! Oh, I'm doing so well. This is so exciting. But I like it because I don't think it's too easy in a way that it's boring. I feel like this one I really, really have to think about this one. Okay. Review number 5. A 2-star review. This book was so annoying. It had the best premise, a fantastic first half, and then promptly took a nosedive. We get name has trust issues. We get name has anxiety. Okay, I already have an idea. But that's only because everyone always talks about him having anxiety, which is the male main character from Yours Truly. I forgot his name momentarily. But Holy Mother of God, my patience was tested. For most of the book, Name was agonizing about how Name was still in love with his ex. Who's in love with? Oh, or it's funny story. When they finally get together after too much pining and agonizing, she sees her ex who cheated on her. Okay, that's important info. Suddenly, she doesn't trust Name, who is a walking ad for trustworthiness. Definitely still fits Yours Truly very much. We do an about face, whatever that means, and Name pushes Name away because she refuses to trust him and gasps she's pregnant. I feel like this should give it away. But I'm gonna be so honest with you, I do not remember if the female main character got pregnant in Yours Truly. In Funny Story, I don't think she did, so I'm crossing that off my list of options. Continuing, just hand me my vomit bag. There was just too much will they, won't they that never felt resolved, and it was dragged out unbearably long. And the whole pregnancy thing was the final nail in the coffin. It's a shame too, because this book was so charming and funny for the first half. Sigh. This is the first book review that I feel like I'm really struggling to get an answer for. Because, okay, obviously Yours Truly was the first one that came to mind, but that was mainly because it says we get name has anxiety. And I do think it was very prevalent, actually. Him having social anxiety was very prevalent, if I remember correctly. Okay, I feel like I need to remember in what books people get pregnant. It's a big deal. And I can only think of 2 books at the moment, but those are not it. So I'm gonna go with Yours Truly and hope she did get pregnant. Oh my god, yay! Okay, that's cool. Now I got 5 out of 5. That's insane. Okay, we're gonna move on to book review number 6. It's a 3-star review, and it's long. Okay, I'm officially reevaluating this because I've had over a month to marinate in my thoughts about this book, and unfortunately, I'm one of those people that tend to focus more heavily on negatives than positives. This is also called being petty. I have that in spades. I'm not going to lie, one of the most infuriating points of this book was the romance. Name and Name were so shoved down my throat, it was almost infuriating. Her thought process is this. I feel like this is where we're gonna get the most info on what book this is. This boy who is, it says hoot, but I guess she means who's, supposedly her enemy is probably going to murder her. Okay, it could be like Fourth Wing maybe. But her only thought is that he's really hot and not at all worried about her own well being. Sometimes I fear that I'm just too weak for enemies to lovers, and this is what I mean by that when I say it. I can't stand when it's not proper enemies and the female lead is just salivating over her supposed enemy right from the get go. But luckily, or else this review would just be me complaining as per usual, they redeemed themselves toward the end. I felt that once they got together, it got much less annoying to read. It was the build up that was like 80% of the book and pissed me off so horribly that was written badly. Also, name. What is with fantasy male lead names and okay, I'm not understanding this. Why are the question marks are pink, which means my boyfriend added those in, but I'm not sure what that means. Maybe it's like a number or like a letter. Also, name. What is it with fantasy male lead names? And I couldn't count the number of fantasy love interest with in their names, even if I had 10 hands. I think it probably says X, and it's Xaden. Yeah. That could be. Or it's a Y and it's like Resand, but we already had an Ekdar, so I don't think it's going to be that. 3 stars. Very standard NAYA fantasy, but done decently. I think, or maybe I don't, because if I think any longer, I will feel the urge to lower this review by a star. Name had fine growth, though she was a bit juvenile at times. Name, well, he's a grower. He's fine, I guess. And Name, I hope he rots in hell. That's mean, because he is not seeing those pearly gates, and well deserved. Okay, so it's a fantasy enemies to lovers, and immediately Fourth Wing came to mind because that is an enemies to lovers, and I'm wondering if I read more enemies to lovers, because I've read Fourth Wing, I read Caraval, but that's not really enemies to lovers. I read Lightlark, but that wasn't really enemies to lovers. I read Divine Rivals, which is not enemies to lovers. I really haven't read all that much enemies to lovers fantasy. So as much as in other videos I've been raving about enemies to lovers, I guess I was talking about Fourth Wing and only Fourth Wing. I'm gonna go with Fourth Wing. And I think it makes sense, and the question mark is like an X. So let's see. Yay! And yeah, it is an X. Okay, that makes sense. Review number 7. I loved the book. Literally the title. Okay, so much. I enjoyed this book, but it did not have the same impact on me that the first one did. Okay, I'm guessing it's a sequel. There was much about this book that I loved, but I did miss Name as a child. She's becoming an adult, a better adult than most. I did love the hilarious things the children said. Children? Okay. I mean, they were things I could hear any child saying. Name was a little crazy. That kid has some sociopathic tendencies. Still, he was so funny. He enjoyed causing some excitement around that place. It was pretty amazing. Name's poor sister, though, was so boring, even the adults thought she was boring. I feel like this is so specific, and yet nothing comes to mind. Name was another good student. Okay, even more specific. I liked him. He was very Name-like. The children were the highlight of the book. Author's Name really knows how to write children. It is her gift. Name is a teacher at like 16 going on 17. She teaches for 1 year before she's going on to college. I know. This has got to be Anne of Avonlea. This is the year that the book covers. She is a young teacher. She also doesn't want to squash the imagination and hopes of children. She wants to befriend them instead of corporeal? Never seen that word before in my life. Punishment. That is funny too, as everyone keeps telling her to beat the children. I thought the book was a little long in places, and the story dragged a little. Beg to differ. Not the point. I am also used to a faster pace thanks to modern literature. I guess that makes sense. It's nice to slow down the pace of the story and read something different. Still, the language does cast a spell, and location seems magical. Yes, it does. I look forward to reading the next one. This is a wonderful series. This has got to be Anne of Avonlea, which actually, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. So I've been saying Avonlea, but I've also considered it being Avonlea or like Avonlea. I don't know. I was gonna say if anyone knows, like put it in the comments, but I mean, be my guest, but I don't know how you want to put that in words. If you find a way, please enlighten me. Yay! It actually does make sense now with the children and the hilarious things the children said. Davy was a little crazy, sociopathic tendencies. Yeah, I can see that. He's funny though. Okay. Review number 8. 5 stars. There ain't no way. Absolutely not. I need so much therapy and a good sob session. What the F, guys? And then a lot of exclamation points. Okay, so an emotional read. This book was an amazing book, emotionally torturous, but I was so glad to see Name finally on a path that was healthy, slowly but surely. Their relationship makes so much more sense after this book, and I love their relationship growth so much. However, I need Name to be so happy by the end of this series, y'all. Not even kidding, I love him almost more than any other character in the series. Besides Name. I would go to war for him. I love this fictional man way too much. The last chapter of this has got me. Okay, I have an idea. Completely and utterly something up, though. What the actual hell? This is a lot of curse words. I do not like saying curse words online, but also, I'm reading someone else's words. I am so upset. I feel like I've been stabbed through the heart. Anyway, 6 stars. I was thinking while I was reading the review that it had to be something like Boys of Tommen or something where you have a series that follows multiple characters and relationships. And then I was thinking it's probably not going to be Boys of Tommen because we already had Taming Seven. And then I was thinking maybe it was Magnolia Parks. And then when she said, the last chapter of this has got me completely and utterly effed up, yeah, it's got to be Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home. If you read it, you know exactly what she is talking about. That came out of nowhere. Yay! Okay, I'm doing so well. I got them all, didn't I? That's insane. This is so fun. Review number 9. A 5-star review. What a mistake. What a mistake to finish this on the first day of my summer holiday. I really wish I hadn't. In fact, I wish I hadn't even started it in the first place. Okay. It's not enough to say this is heartbreaking. It's not enough to say it is, of course, written beautifully or that it's given teenage, literally, love a new voice. It is the weight of the sadness that falls on you from the very first pages that I couldn't shake off. The inevitable end that I wanted to stop reading from. Yeah, I guess I know what it is. I think this has been described as the French Call Me By Your Name. That's not entirely accurate. Call Me By Your Name's got obsession and lust at its core. They both tend to fade out with time. This one deals with regrets. You can only carry your regrets an entire life. I don't know, actually. Oh, I have another guess now. I immediately thought of If He Had Been With Me when it said something about, yeah, heartbreaking, written beautifully, debatable, but heartbreaking, yeah. And then The Weight of Sadness, whatever. That's when I thought of If He Had Been With Me. Yeah, and then teenage, it fits as well. And then when she said, or he, the inevitable end that I wanted to stop reading from, I definitely thought If He Had Been With Me. But that's not French, or at least I don't think it is. But now I think it's gotta be Lie With Me by Philippe Besson, because that is quite a sad story as well. And it is French. And I get the comparison to Call Me By Your Name, actually. I wish I hadn't read this because I can't imagine stories like this being true. Yeah, Lie With Me is based on the author's real life story, so I'm definitely guessing that now. I can't imagine men having lived and even living their lives like this. And because it breaks my heart thinking about those men thinking they already know they will never be so happy again, when it is all they deserve. And just to make it clear, this is a book that will speak to your heart because it's a great book. I almost want to beg you not to read it, but instead I will say this. At least don't read it on your summer holiday. I get where this review is coming from, and it was definitely sad. But I feel like this is a very intense reaction that doesn't quite match my own. But yeah, it is definitely a sad story, and the fact that it is based on a true story makes it even more sad. So this is Lie With Me. Yes. I apologize in advance for the upcoming review. It's quite something. Good luck. Okay? I was very curious. Okay, it's a 5-star review. I told myself I was just gonna pick this up from the bookstore, read 100 pages max, and savor the rest when I get home. Tell me why, as soon as my transaction clears, I sat my ass down at a table and proceeded to read the whole thing right before closing. No regrets, but I do have a raging headache. Yeah, imaginable. This is everything. Everything I could have wanted and asked for and hoped for. This was my explosive, devastating, and spiked like there was poison in it. Name and name are my world. No one is doing it out here like them. I wonder what the apology was for. Now I'm feeling like it's a book I disliked and my boyfriend knows I disliked and that's why he's apologizing because it's a 5-star review. But then that would give something away, so I guess that's not it. Name. My god. Why was she pulling my heart like that? She was giving bad bitch. Giving get the F out of my way. This is my fairy tale. Giving. Yeah, no, I do think it's it now because it's. Okay, I'll just read on. Giving, I don't give a F. Who you are, realness. She really said, these hands are rated E for everyone. No one loves as passionate as she does. Name, be mine. Damn, I wonder if bleach is poisonous because my lord, I wasn't ready for this emotional breakdown. No one is out here doing it like my baby girl. Every move he made was so poetic and skilled. Name has that dog in him for his behavior in this book. Had me bricked. Y'all think that hollow scene was something? Hollow scene. It's not ringing a bell. Wait till you read the in scene. Okay, yeah, I think I know. Name is the type to set the world on fire for Name, and that he does. Part of me does wish some scenes were flushed out a little bit more. I still have some questions that weren't exactly answered, just loosely riddled, which honestly was disappointing because this is the last book in the series. Well, thanks for that information. But I will say, reading the bonus scene upped this rating. I can't even register that this series is over. Like, the F do you mean I'm going to wake up tomorrow? I want to die. Well, good for you that you loved it so much. I did not, because I think this is A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber, which I guess that's what the apology is for, because my boyfriend knows, because I went on and on and on about it when I read it, that I unfortunately very much disliked this book, which I know everyone loves this. I don't know what's wrong with me. I secretly think there's something wrong with the book, but I mean, I just really disliked it. And I wish I could see it like this person does, but I cannot. Okay, so I'm guessing A Curse for True Love. Yeah. I mean, I don't see it. I really don't. I feel like I don't remember enough details of the plot to tell you right now exactly why I didn't like it. And also because I feel like it is such an unpopular opinion, I want to explain myself fully because I do know it is a very unpopular opinion. So if I'm gonna explain myself, I want to do it properly. So I'm not going to get into that now. I will probably talk about it some other time because I do, like I said before, plan to make a unpopular bookish opinion sort of video. This was a good ending, I think, because me and my boyfriend laugh about it all the time, that everyone on the internet loves this series and I actually hated it. I did. I'm so sorry. So I got 10 out of 10 points. That's so fun. I remember, I think in the beginning, the intro, I said something like, oh, maybe I'll get them all correct. And then I laughed at myself because obviously I wouldn't. And now here we are. That's so cool. If you played along, I am so curious if you got any of them correctly. Please let me know in the comments what your score was. If you didn't play along, I hope you still enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed making this video. So super fun. Possibly the most fun I've had filming a video so far. So thank you so much for my boyfriend that is probably watching, not just on your computer at some point in the future, but also like right there behind the camera. Thank you so much. I'm gonna leave it at this. So I really hope to see you in a next video. Fine. Bye!